All right, I want to thank all of you for joining us today for our Maya Angelou Memorial Recital. It really means a lot to see you all here. I'm Teaira Burge. I'm a master's student at Roosevelt University, Chicago College of Performing Arts, and I put this little afternoon together. I am so happy to have Stephen Yule joining us on the piano today. It's fantastic. So again, thank you so much for coming out. It's just going to be a nice short program of some songs and some poems that really made me think of Maya Angelou, her life and her legacy. Unfortunately, her poems are all very strictly copyrighted. So I was hoping to find a lot of music that would be set to her writing, and that wasn't the case, so I had to get a little creative. We all did. And it's been a lot of fun. We've put a lot of work into this. I found a little story here that I want to read to you before we get started. And we'll go right into the program. I'm just going to have each performer introduce either their song or their poem and tell you a little bit about why they chose it, what it means to them, and most specifically, what Maya Angelou means to them. I first heard of Maya Angelou's passing through a blogger friend of mine. An article of hers was posted on the Huffington Post blog. It was simply titled, "Thank You, Maya Angelou." It begins by describing how her day actually began surrounded by books at a local Barnes & Noble, looking for inspiration and solidarity in the words of others. She was sitting at that bookstore, cradling a copy of I Know When the Caged Bird Sings in her hands, when her phone lit up with a text from a friend who wanted her to hear the news before it started bombarding all of her screens. Maya Angelou had passed. She goes on to thank Maya Angelou for the impact she made on her life. I was so struck by the words of gratitude that she composed. "Thank you for the light you brought. Just thank you for the way you pushed us all to be better versions of ourselves, even when we couldn't always count on what pushing forward would look like. Just thank you for putting massive pieces of your heart right on the page for us. Thank you for talking about it, even when you didn't fully understand it. It was through your vulnerability that we were able to inch closer to our own humanity. Just thank you for showing up, for the ones of us who read and reread countless transcripts of interviews you gave, just to hear you tell us that nothing, not a single thing, can dim the light that shines from within. Just thank you for being there, on the day I decided that I would become whatever the world needed me to be. Your words and your wisdom, cradled in my hands, have always been enough to convince me that I'm not alone in this. Most of all, just thank you for reminding us not to waste our words on things that will never matter the next day, or things that belittle another and make them feel smaller. Rather, you found the stronger words, the ones that taught us all that we were never alone as we thought ourselves to be. And so we should be good to one another, and we should be honest, and we should show up for each other, because each other is all we really get or have for the moment, and even that slows quickly and unexpectedly." I was so struck by this lovely thank you letter because they made sense to me. I saw and felt Dr. Maya Angelou in every sentence, but to be honest, I had never read any of her books or poems before. I remember walking past her book of poetry. You know the one, the complete collected poems of Maya Angelou, the one with the quilt on the cover. I remember walking past that book every time I went to the bookstore, and I remember wanting to buy it, but I never did. I don't really know why. I guess I never really considered myself the poetry type, whatever that means. I guess I assumed there was no place for me among her words. I loved her words and her smile, and I felt that still there was no place for me in the sphere of her influence, love, and hope and beauty. As soon as I learned of her passing, I walked to the nearest bookstores, and I couldn't find her books. So I became that girl. Well, I was already that girl, who read and reread transcripts of her interviews and looked up interviews of her on YouTube. I wanted to know this woman. I wanted to know her life. When I came up with the idea for this concert, I finally bought that book of poetry, and I downloaded all of her autobiographies. It's funny that I never bought her autobiographies, because I am the world's biggest sucker for an autobiography or a memoir. I immediately found that I was wrong all those years ago. There was a place for me among all of the beauty and the not so beautiful words. Turn the page. I realized that while I may not be the poetry type, whatever that means, I'm most certainly the story type. I love people's stories with a passion that frequently shocks even me. As someone who's consistently afraid to tell her own story and lives kind of like an apology instead of like a story worth the hearing, her stories, Maya Angelou's stories, and all the beauty, pain, love, anger, grace, and honesty I found in them inspired me. Maya Angelou lived an absolutely incredible life. She lived her life in a way that most people can only dream of, and she told her story. She knew the weight and sound of her own footsteps, and with words, music, and love, she taught others to do the same. She was a poet, memoirist, educator, dancer, dramatist, producer, singer, actress, historian, filmmaker, and civil rights activist. She left her mark on every little piece of this world, and she became a sister and a friend to so many. I would like to thank you again for joining us here tonight, and thank you to Literature for All of Us for partnering with me on this project. I encourage you all to look into this incredible organization, and if you're able, make a donation to help them continue their mission of bringing the rewards of reading and writing to young people in the Chicago area. I'd like to start our recital with a piece written by Ricky Ian Gordon. The words are from a poem by Langston Hughes, and it's called Joy. And it really is such a joyful piece, and it makes me think of the struggle that we all go through, especially Maya's struggle, just to find her place in this world and be happy and fulfilled, and the unexpected places where you can find it.